Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're tackling a really serious topic, one that unfortunately affects too many lives, families, and communities. Welcome to our deep dive into the world of methamphetamine. Today, we'll uncover some crucial facts about this powerful and dangerous drug. It's a substance that often gets sensationalized, but it's vital we approach it with accurate information, understanding its true nature, its devastating effects, and the science behind its addictive power. My goal here isn't to scare but to inform, because knowledge is the first step towards prevention, understanding, and ultimately, towards seeking help if you or someone you know is struggling. This isn't just about listing facts, it's about understanding the broader impact. We'll look at what methamphetamine actually is, how it works in the brain, the different forms it takes, and the various ways it's used, or rather, misused. It's a complex subject and there's a lot of misinformation out there. So we're going to break it down, piece by piece, using evidence-based information. We want to arm you with the truth, so you can make informed decisions and understand the gravity of the situation if meth addiction touches your life or the lives of those around you. We'll also briefly touch upon its very limited medical uses, which often surprises people, to give a full picture. At Shining Ways Rehab, we believe that clear, honest education is paramount. Understanding the mechanisms of addiction and the specific dangers of substances like methamphetamine can empower individuals and communities. This video is part of our commitment to providing that education. So grab a seat, maybe a notepad, because we're about to get into the nitty-gritty of a drug that has caused widespread harm. Let's approach this with open minds and a commitment to learning, so we can better understand the challenges and, importantly, the pathways to recovery. So let's start at the very beginning, on a molecular level. What exactly methamphetamine? Chemically speaking, it's a potent central nervous system stimulant. It's closely related to amphetamine, another stimulant you might have heard of, but with a key structural difference. A methyl group, that makes methamphetamine more lipid-soluble. This means it can cross the blood-brain barrier much more quickly and effectively than amphetamine. Think of it like having a VIP pass that lets it rush straight into the brain's control centers, leading to a more intense and longer-lasting high. This rapid and potent effect is a significant part of what makes it so addictive and dangerous. Once inside the brain, methamphetamine unleashes a flood of neurotransmitters. These are the chemical messengers our brain cells use to communicate. Specifically, it dramatically increases the levels of dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. Dopamine is heavily involved in the brain's reward system, motivation, and pleasure. Imagine your brain has a delicate system for releasing small, appropriate bursts of dopamine for things like eating good food or achieving a goal. Methamphetamine essentially kicks the door down and opens the floodgates, releasing an unnatural, overwhelming surge of dopamine, far beyond what natural rewards can produce. This creates an intense euphoria, but it also starts to rewire the brain. This massive release isn't sustainable, and it comes at a huge cost. The brain isn't designed to handle such extreme levels of these neurotransmitters. Norepinephrine affects alertness, energy, and attention, contributing to the hyper-aroused state meth users experience. Serotonin plays a role in mood, sleep, and appetite. By disrupting all three of these critical systems so profoundly, methamphetamine not only creates a powerful, addictive high, but also sets the stage for a devastating crash and long-term neurological damage. We're talking about changes to brain structure and function that can take a very long time to heal, if ever completely. Now let's talk about what you might hear this drug called on the street. Methamphetamine goes by a whole host of slang terms, and being aware of them is important, not to be in the know with illicit culture, but for recognizing potential warning signs if you hear these terms used. Some of the most common street names include simply meth, crystal, or crystal meth, which directly refers to its crystalline appearance, which we'll get to in a bit. You might also hear it called ice, another nod to its clear, rock-like form. These names often highlight its appearance or its perceived effects. Other names you might encounter are crank, which is an older term but still sometimes used, and glass, again referencing its resemblance to shards of glass. In some regions there might be local slang terms that aren't as widely known. The variety of names can sometimes create confusion, or even a false sense of different substances, but it's crucial to understand that regardless of what it's called, meth, crystal, ice, glass, tina, speed, yaba, often mixed with caffeine in pill form in Southeast Asia, it's still referring to the same dangerous and highly addictive stimulant, methamphetamine. The existence of these numerous street names also reflects the illicit nature of the drug and the subcultures that surround its use and distribution. These names can be a way to speak about the drug covertly, to identify within a certain group, or sometimes they evolve as manufacturers try to brand their particular product. But let's be absolutely clear, a different name doesn't mean a different drug, nor does it mean a safer version. It's all methamphetamine, and it all carries the same severe risks of addiction, health complications, and life-altering consequences. Understanding this common language is a small but significant part of awareness. So what does methamphetamine actually look like? It's not a single uniform substance. Methamphetamine can appear in several different forms, and the form often dictates how it's used and can sometimes give clues about its purity or origin, though that's not always reliable on the street. One common form is a white, odorless, bitter-tasting crystalline powder. This powder can be easily dissolved in water or alcohol, which lends itself to various methods of administration. Sometimes this powder might be compressed into pills, which can look like legitimate medication, making it particularly deceptive. Then there's the form that often gets the most attention, known as crystal meth. This refers to larger, clear crystals or shiny blue-white rocks. This form is typically purer than the powdered form and is often smoked. The name ice or glass directly comes from this appearance. It can look like small fragments of ice or broken glass. The visual allure of these crystals can be misleading, masking the incredibly destructive substance they represent. Producing these different forms often involves hazardous chemical processes, frequently carried out in dangerous makeshift labs. It's important to understand that regardless of whether it's a fine powder, a pill, or a seemingly clean crystal, it's still methamphetamine. The perceived purity of crystal meth, for example, often means a more potent dose, leading to a faster onset of addiction and more severe health consequences. The different forms simply offer different routes for the drug to enter the body, all leading to the same devastating impact on the brain and body. Recognizing these forms is key for awareness, especially for parents, educators, and community members who might encounter them. Now that we know what methamphetamine looks like, let's discuss the ways it's actually used, or more accurately, abused. There are 4 primary methods of administration, and each one carries its own specific risks and affects how quickly the drug hits the brain. The first method is oral ingestion, swallowing it, often in pill form or by mixing the powder into a drink. When taken orally, the drug is absorbed through the digestive system. This results in a slower onset of effects, typically within 15 to 30 minutes, because it has to be processed by the stomach and liver before reaching the bloodstream and then the brain. A second common method is insufflation, or snorting the powdered form. When meth is snorted, it's absorbed through the mucous membranes in the nasal passages directly into the bloodstream. This bypasses the digestive system, leading to a much faster onset of effects than swallowing, usually within just a few minutes. Snorting can cause significant damage to the nasal tissues over time, leading to nosebleeds, sinus problems, and even perforation of the nasal septum. It's a highly damaging route of administration, both in the short and long term. The third method is smoking, which typically involves heating crystal methamphetamine and inhaling the vapors. This is one of the most rapid ways to get the drug to the brain, even faster than snorting, because the vapors are absorbed quickly through the vast surface area of the lungs directly into the bloodstream. The effects can be felt almost instantaneously within seconds. This rapid, intense high is extremely reinforcing and contributes heavily to addiction. Smoking also carries risks of burns and severe damage to the lungs and respiratory system. Finally, there's injection, where meth is dissolved in a liquid and injected directly into a vein. This delivers the drug instantaneously into the bloodstream, producing an immediate and intense rush. Injection is by far the riskiest method, not only due to the drug's effects, but also because of the high risk of infections like HIV and hepatitis C from shared needles, as well as skin infections, collapsed veins, and endocarditis. Now this might come as a surprise to many, but methamphetamine does, in fact, have a very limited and highly controlled medical use. It's available by prescription under the brand name Desoxin. Yes, you heard that right, the same core chemical compound. However, and this is a critically important distinction, the context, dosage, purity, and method of administration are vastly different from street meth. Disoxin is typically prescribed in very small, carefully controlled doses, usually 5 mg tablets, which is a tiny fraction of what's typically used illicitly. Disoxin is approved by the FDA for treating two specific conditions: attention deficit hyperactivity disorder (ADHD) in children and adults, and short-term treatment of exogenous obesity. For ADHD, it's considered a second-line treatment, meaning it's usually only prescribed when other more common stimulant medications like methylphenidate, Ritalin, or amphetamine salts, Adderall, have been ineffective or cause intolerable side effects. Its use for obesity is even more restricted and is only intended for short-term use alongside a comprehensive weight reduction program when other methods have failed. The idea is that its stimulant properties can help suppress appetite and increase metabolism, but its high potential for abuse and dependence makes it a very cautiously used option. It's absolutely crucial to understand that pharmaceutical-grade methamphetamine, disoxin, is manufactured under strict quality controls, ensuring purity and precise dosing. This is a world away from illicitly manufactured street meth, which is often contaminated with dangerous chemicals, byproducts from the synthesis process, and has wildly unpredictable purity and potency. Furthermore, when disoxin is prescribed, it's under the close supervision of a medical doctor, with regular monitoring for side effects and potential for misuse. This medical application in no way legitimizes or lessens the extreme dangers of illicit methamphetamine use. Rather, it highlights how a substance's effects are profoundly tied to dose, purity, and context of use. So, we've covered a lot today, from the chemical structure of methamphetamine and how it hijacks the brain to its various street names, forms, and methods of use, and even its very limited role in medicine. The picture is stark. Methamphetamine is an incredibly destructive and highly addictive substance. Understanding these facts is not about judgment. It's about recognizing the profound risks and the devastating impact it can have on individuals, families, and entire communities. The allure of the initial high quickly gives way to a cycle of dependence, severe health problems, and a deterioration of mental and physical well-being. But knowledge is power. By understanding the dark truth about methamphetamine, we can better equip ourselves to prevent its spread, to recognize the signs of use, and most importantly, to support those who are struggling. Addiction is a complex disease, not a moral failing, and recovery is possible with the right support and treatment. If you or someone you know is caught in the grip of methamphetamine addiction, please know that you are not alone, and help is available. Reaching out is the first and bravest step towards healing and reclaiming a life free from substance dependence. Thanks for watching. Stay informed and stay safe. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more informative content. Spreading awareness can make a real difference. And if you need to talk to someone or are looking for resources, please reach out to a trusted healthcare professional, a local support group, or a dedicated treatment center like Shining Ways Rehab. There is hope and there is help. Take care of yourselves and each other.